Okay, so you want to buy an airline. You've got the money, you love the idea of seeing your name on the side of a jet, and how hard can it really be? Planes go up, people pay for seats, the money comes in. But here's the strange part. There's an old joke in this industry, and it comes from a man who actually owns an airline. Richard Branson once said the easiest way to become a millionaire is to start as a billionaire and launch a new airline. He wasn't really joking. In 2020, it cost Branson $250 million of his own money just to keep Virgin Atlantic from disappearing. So how is it possible that the airline business generates more than $1 trillion a year, moves 5 billion people, and still manages to bankrupt almost everyone who touches it? By the end of this video, you'll know exactly how an airline actually makes money, why the planes themselves are almost irrelevant, and why the most valuable part of an airline is something you can't even see. Let's start with the price list. The thing you picture when you think airline, the jet, is the easy part. A brand new Boeing 737 MAX has a sticker price of about $117 million. An Airbus A320neo, around $110 million. But nobody actually pays that. Those are catalog prices, pure theater. In the real world, airlines order in bulk and quietly negotiate discounts of 40 to 60%. So the plane that's advertised at $117 million actually changes hands for closer to $52 million. But here's the first secret of this business. The smart operators don't buy planes at all. Today, around 58% of all commercial aircraft in the sky are leased, not owned. You go to a leasing company, the real giants of aviation that most people have never heard of, and you rent a new narrow-body jet for about $400,000 a month. Even better, you can do a sale-leaseback. You buy the plane, immediately sell it to a leasing company, and lease it right back. You get to fly it, they own it, and you walk away with a pile of cash to keep the lights on. If that sounds familiar, it's the same trick as the oil rig business. The asset on the runway isn't wealth, it's a liability with wings. Now the bill arrives. Because owning the plane was never the expensive part. Running it is. A single Boeing 737 costs somewhere between $5,000 and $8,500 for every hour it's in the air. The single biggest line item is fuel, which eats 25 to 40% of an airline's entire operating budget, and you don't control the price of it at all. One war, one OPEC meeting, and your costs explode overnight. After fuel comes labor, another 20 to 30%. Pilots, flight attendants, mechanics, ground crew, all unionized, all expensive, all non-negotiable. Then add airport fees, maintenance checks, insurance, and the mountain of regulation that comes with putting humans in a metal tube at 40,000 feet. Put it all together, and you arrive at the most depressing number in modern business. In 2026, the entire global airline industry is expected to run a net profit margin of just 3.9%. The average airline earns about $7.90 in profit for every single passenger it flies. Think about that. You wait in the security line, you pay for the bag, you buy the overpriced sandwich, the plane takes off completely full, and at the end of all of it, the airline keeps less than the price of that sandwich. So if the margins are this thin, and the planes lose value, and the costs are this brutal, why does anyone want this business? Here's where it gets interesting. Because the airline you think you're buying is not the business that actually makes the money. The real business is the miles. Every major airline secretly runs two companies. The first one flies people from one city to another, and it barely breaks even. The second one is a loyalty program, and it is one of the most profitable machines ever built. Here's how it works. The airline creates a currency out of thin air, frequent flyer miles, and then it sells that currency to banks. When a credit card company hands you miles for spending money, it isn't giving them away. It bought those miles from the airline for somewhere between 1 and 2 cents each. The airline prints points, the banks buy them by the billions to dangle in front of customers, and the cash flows straight to the airline before a single plane leaves the ground. How big is this hidden business? Take United. Its Mileage Plus program sold more than $5 billion in miles in a single year, at a profit margin of 34%. That's not an airline margin, that's a luxury brand margin. And when you put a value on the whole program, the number gets absurd. United valued Mileage Plus at around $22 billion. The problem? At that same moment, United's entire stock, the whole company, planes and all, was worth only $10.6 billion. The frequent flyer program was worth more than twice the airline that owned it. This isn't a fluke. As of 2026, Delta's SkyMiles program is valued at nearly $32 billion. American's AAdvantage at almost $27 billion. In several cases, the loyalty program is worth more than the airline's entire market value, which means investors are doing something remarkable. They are valuing the actual flying part of the airline at less than zero. The planes, the routes, the staff, the brand, all of it treated as a money-losing attachment to the real asset, which is the points. And the airlines know it. When COVID grounded the entire planet and the flying business collapsed overnight, the airlines didn't survive by selling tickets. They survived by pawning their loyalty programs. United borrowed $6.8 billion against Mileage Plus. Delta raised $9 billion against SkyMiles. American raised $10 billion against AAdvantage, the largest airline financing in history. When the real money was needed, nobody borrowed against the jets. They borrowed against the miles. But even the miles can't save you from the oldest curse in this industry. Airlines die. Constantly. Every single major airline in America has been through bankruptcy at least once. Pan Am, once the most glamorous name in the sky, collapsed completely in 1991. And here's the tell. When it died, the planes were scattered and sold for scrap, but its frequent flyer miles were valuable enough that Delta scooped them up and honored them. Even in death, the loyalty program outlived the airline. So let's answer the actual question. How much do you make if you do this right? Scenario 1. You run a lean, low-cost airline. You lease your fleet, you pack the seats, you charge for everything that isn't bolted down. And on good years, you clear that thin few percent of margin, multiplied by tens of millions of passengers. Survive the fuel spikes and the recessions, and it works. Scenario 2. You chase prestige. Big planes, premium cabins, fancy lounges, the airline as a trophy. That's the version that prints bankruptcies, and it's the version that turned Branson's billion into a rescue check. Because in the end, the most successful people in this business figured out the trick a long time ago. They aren't really selling flights. They're running a bank that happens to own some airplanes. So if you decide to buy an airline, remember the only rule that matters. The planes don't make the money. The miles do. Sell the seat at a loss and sell the points forever.